Hello and welcome to From the Be-All End. I'm Simon Evans, and with me is Paul Woodhouse and Chris Bowden, and we will be looking back on the midweek victory over Coventry City and looking ahead to the game against Stoke and any other nonsense we can think of in the meantime as well. We're recording this on Thursday. You'll be listening to it on Friday morning by most chances. Thursday here in America being Thanksgiving. Woody, have you tucked into your turkey yet?
No, I haven't partaken as yet, and I shall be going later into Steph's dad's, and whether it's been brined, fried, or whatever, I've absolutely no idea. So there you go.
Have you ever had one of them full fried turkeys?
Yes,
I've heard about them. I've never had one.
Yeah. They're quite entertaining, but it's like anything else over here. It becomes quite an event. Like they spend at least 48 hours messing about with it. At the end of the day, it's just a turkey, but bless them. You've got to be thankful for it, if nothing else.
Any particular family tradition in your family?
No, nothing. It's just it's a weird one. Is Thanksgiving? It's not quite a Christmas, but it's a fairly standard run of the mill. But a lot of people are there. And everybody brings a dish, Jacob Joint type thing, which is always quite nice.
It is nice. I think it's a nice holiday.
It's a good holiday.
Yeah, I'm not going to be celebrating it until Friday, actually, working today. But I'm invited round to a Friendsgiving on Friday, which is handy for those of us without any family over here. Chris, no Thanksgiving in the UK, but have you had your tea?
Fish finger butter, old school.
Excellent. What goes on top? Out in there.
Just a bit of sauce. That's it. Jobs, What more do you need?
Red sauce.
Well, yeah. You don't want to posh it up with a bit of tartar sauce, do you?
Oh, I hadn't really thought about that one. I was thinking brown or red, but
not brown.
Don't put brown on it.
Surely.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'll put brown on most things, but I wouldn't do on fish fingers. No. Anyway, right. Coventry City performance was not a 1-0 win. It was a 2 this time. So decent performance, I think, overall in the end. But Woody, what were your impressions of that one?
It was very much job done, wasn't it? I thought we played well in fits and starts, but that defensive solidity is becoming quite a trademark now, isn't it? It's like a couple of seasons ago where you were just expecting to win 2-0, you expect 2-1 or 2-0 or whatever. Now you're just expecting, a nil. They only had about one shot on target, three efforts, and they really didn't threaten at all, did they? And I thought we commanded without really over-threatening, but I think both Sarmiento and Anthony had flashes. I thought Roberts did well down the right-hand side. We see with J-Rod, like we mentioned on the last pod, that he's just linking it up a little bit better, and I thought Annabelle had another decent game. So I think we did more than enough. It was just a fairly comfortable 2-0 win in the end, which is what it should have been.
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, again, it's just a lot of these games, it's just a case of if we score, we win. And, you're just waiting for that goal to come. And the pleasing aspect, and they say, although you go in goalless at half-time, they are sort of creating more situations where they're getting in behind teams and, down the side of teams. It might not necessarily always end up in working the goalkeeper, but they are creating more of these situations. You look at, I've seen Anthony's sort of his touch map and his average position on the field, that he plays so high and so wide And you're almost on the other side. It's sort of Sarmiento's given rein to sort of come in and link up with J Rod and let Pires get down that side. But again, the goal comes from Roberts being the one to get to the byline. So the only sort of frustration for me, sort of just taking a bit more care in the final ball. For me, it's a bit more. They're being played into areas rather than picking people out. And I think we've been spoilt down the years with people like Glenn Little and Wade Elliott and Kieran Trippier, who just pick someone out from 50 yards away if need be. And the glory of Trips' crosses, where you can attack them at any stage of its trajectory and score a goal, just magnificent. But they got it right in the end. And say Roberts got to the byline and pulled back a great ball for the goal. And the second goal's a bit fortunate, and then he's just put it in, as he admitted after the game. He's put it into an area and it's looped in. But handsome winners against a side who offered absolutely nothing, had no ambition whatsoever. And I look at the likes, like Ellis Sims is on. Why is he on the bench? He's a handful. If you're going to test Burnley, you would imagine. I mean, Estev's got he's got a bit of turn of pace. He can cover and if need be, reads it well. Egan Riley just looks so assured. But that surely the test against Burnley is with physicality and crossed balls. And you've got a player like Sims on the bench, and I just do not understand that at all. Use your players to the best of their abilities.
Well, that's one for Frank Lampard now, isn't it? Confirmed as manager.
Let's say, as we'll probably go into later on with Stoke, it's just they've got the new manager in at Stoke who spent a month with Guardiola and had a bit of a spell with Bielsa, and he's worked with Corberan, and he wants to play out from the back, and he wants to press high, and it's just becoming an identikit approach. But it's painful to watch.
It is sometimes, isn't it? The Pep mind virus sweeping its way through the Championship. It seems like everyone might have got round to learning how to play it by the time Guardiola's finally out of City, which might be sooner rather than later if they carry on like they are at the moment. I'm sure they'll turn it around, but we've talked about it before, haven't we? That but it will be interesting to see Stoke City trying to play Pep ball, because that's not really on brand for them, is it?
Well, I think like John Walters has gone out of his way to appoint him. When you think of John Walters, who, he also came through at Blackburn, he had a spell under Allardyce at Bolton, great success with Stoke and with a Republic of Ireland side who were very direct and played to their strengths. And he's played at Burnley under Sean Dyche, and you do wonder what, maybe he wanted to play that brand of football all his career, John Walters, but we'll never know. But it just seems a strange, like a left field thing for him to do, really.
Yeah, just going back to our performance. I mean, one thing that struck me about it was you're right about Anthony staying very much in that high and wide position, but it did seem like with Sarmiento, and that, I don't know whether it's him or whether Parker's telling him that some of those times when we seem to run out of ideas, when we're going the same way forward and trying the same things all the time, Sarmiento did seem willing quite a few times to go on just Winston White type runs across the middle of the field, didn't he? And it does mix it up, and it did break it up a little bit. I mean, were we a little bit more inventive in attack, do you think, Woody, or have we got a pattern that's quite predictable?
I think we've got a plan A, haven't we? And it's get it out wide and see if we can either get runners and get to the bar line and cut it back. That seems to be plan A. But your point about Sarmiento, yes, he adds something a little bit different in that he has that closer control. But another thing that I noticed a little bit on Tuesday night were those little kind of 1-2s and little weighted passes. Not all of them came off, but they were, coming off a little bit better. There were certain little touches from Hannibal that, against Bristol were going awry, were finding men. And just those little 1-2s and those bits of link-up play that are a lot more intricate that you can see that we're wanting to do were just starting to click a little bit more. And Anthony, we're trying to take men on, and he was coming in. He was, a lot trickier than he has been. He wasn't fading in and out quite as much. And you can see certain things starting to develop, I think. And I think we want to be a lot more creative, and we want to be a lot more inventive. And hopefully it starts to, and it just continues. And we are able to kind of play through the middle of sides, as well as just having to constantly go down the flanks and being forced out wide. So I think it kind of bodes well. And I think also Colliesho coming on for the last 10 or 15, that pace, that's what we've talked about previously, about him maybe coming on as an impact sub, obviously worked a little bit on Tuesday as well. And so that might be something interesting to watch as we progress through this festive period.
Yeah, I mean, Parker was, both after the Bristol game and the Coventry game, Parker's made a real point, Chris, of saying that's what we're working at on the training ground. That's what we've been putting in on the training ground. And it does feel that these two performances after the international break have had a little bit more to them, to me. Like, are you seeing like a progression in the side?
Yeah, you can see patterns of play developing, and I'd say again, we all go back to this Guardiola thing, the sort of quarter, the half spaces and the markings on the pitch that never did get a chance to go through with Vincent Kompany, but it's all designed to gain control and say utilise the space and hurt people, try and get as many people in the half spaces and in the forward line as such. And they are trying to get, the occasions earlier in the season that we spoke about, when you're getting more bodies in the box, we're doing that. For Sarmiento's goal, there's bodies in the box. And it's, I say it can be frustrating, this brand of football, if it doesn't come off, because you're not hurling how many crosses into a box every game and hoping someone gets on it and it's all, it's blood and thunder, sort of thing. It's more intricate, it's more prescribed, but let's say you need that. I think Anthony's got real ability, and he's taken some stick. He can be a bit on the nice side of things when it comes to the physical side, but he's good off either foot. He can score a goal, he can create, and you see Roberts did well to sort of combine with him. Perez, it offers you more going forward than if Humphreys plays at the back, and Sarmiento can be that sort of that bit of inspiration, that bit of unpredictability. You want Koleosho to be able to sort of develop that, to come inside, to play a little give and go and break teams down. I just think Sarmiento's, I've used the phrase many a time, he's just a better manipulator of the football than anyone else we have. But that's it. Having Jay in the team, and people sort of forget that Jay's a real technician. He might not have the pace anymore. He was never absolutely lightning to start with, but he's always been a very good technical footballer. It's something that that Kompany saw very early on as well. It's hard not to. He's a fabulous footballer, and it's not a secret really not a surprise rather that things are looking a bit better with Jay in the side, to be honest.
They are. Yeah, we talked about that quite a lot after Bristol, and with the lack of options as well. You wonder how long physically, especially playing 2 games a week and the tight schedule over the festive period, how long he can keep going playing at that rate. But certainly he's made a difference. I mean, at the other end of the field, though, I was listening to Greavesy on another podcast when he was on the iPapers podcast, and they were going through a little bit of a potted history of Burnley and mentioned the post-war defence known as the Iron Curtain, who conceded, I think it was 29 goals in 42 league matches. Is this Iron Curtain too, would it? Are we looking at, are we raising the Iron Curtain again? Because the back four we're almost assuming we're not going to concede in half of these games.
Yeah, it's not fortunate. It's not by luck. it's by organisation and the way that we play it, and folks just aren't getting through us, past us, round us, or whatever. And it's an extremely solid unit. I mean, what is it now? 6 goals against. That's a record after, was it 15, 16 games, and obviously still is going into 17 games. That's some effort. I mean, whether you why wouldn't you be able to keep it up for the rest of the season? Now folks are arguing about, who makes way for Bear and what have you. It's one of those silly situations where you've arguably got, folks to come in or threaten for places who we know are exceptional centre-halves as well. But how are you going to remove those two, other than one possibly being sold in January, potentially? But, I mean, let's be fair. We've got nearly an embarrassment of riches at centre-half, haven't we? Which is quite unusual. So I would say that, yes, that it's an iron curtain that should probably keep shut all season.
Chris, everyone focuses on the central defensive pair, and they have both been outstanding this season. But obviously, it's a back four and a goalkeeper as well. I mean, you just talk a little bit about what you think the contribution of the fullbacks has been to this, because it's never just 2 centre halves, is it?
No, not at all. And it's also the sort of midfielder in front. If that's the sort of deepest sitting one, more often than not, Josh Cullen, who can he's more metronomic best on Tuesday night. But Roberts can sort of shift over and make it a 3 if Perez sort of bombs on, etc. But he likes to get forward himself. I think he's at his best when he gets forward. But it is. Again, I go back to the defensive record is ludicrous. I think they conceded 2 in the last 11 games, or something like that. And if you think back about, the header down at Millwall's. We criticised Trafford maybe a touch for not moving his feet quick enough and getting over, but the header's sensational. And the goal, the Blackman goal, that the lad couldn't replicate if he had another 999,999 attempts at it. He just simply couldn't score that goal ever again. It's a one in a million job. It's. I say you've got that sort of covering speed that Esteve has. He's good in the air. He reads it. Egan Riley, I see, he just gets better with every game. Just looks really calm and assured. He spreads play well. Neither are the sort of buyer type that drive forward with the ball necessarily, but they've just got a decent understanding, it seems. You won't split that pair for love nor money. I don't care who's available. If it's Worrell, Bayer, Egan, Ekdal, none of them come in. Delcourt, none of them come in. But I say behind that, Trafford's in this situation where he's probably going to end up with the Golden Gloves. He's going to have the most clean sheets, but he's not being overly stretched at all. He's made a few good stops in games, but that's testament to the people in front of him and to him. I think we've seen more situations this year where he's put the pressure on the forward. I was listening to a podcast with Asmir Begovic during the week and sort of talking about putting the pressure on the forward, putting the decisions in their mind and making them beat you. And so many times he's sort of he's not had to make a save, but he's flustered the forward. Probably the main point was the one at the early chance up at Leeds, where he didn't even find the target there, and it was he did ever so well, Trafford. But it's just the whole collective effort really at the moment. But it's not defending in the old sort of Tarky, me, Keane, Duffo type of way either. They're not having
no last-ditch challenges that you think of, is there?
No, they're not having to come under. But you look back at those again. The reference point is always Guardiola and his Manchester City team. Even his Barcelona team, who would have played Mascherano as a centre half? And you wouldn't have thought, well, he's not going to stand up to the physical. He didn't have to because the opposition didn't have the ball. If you dominate possession and dominate territory, and your defenders can play with deck chairs and cigars, that's it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it is incredible, really. 17 games, 6 goals conceded. And you look at our last goal conceded was that one at Millwall on the 3rd of November. It's incredible, really. And it is a collective team effort, I think. And also, I do wonder a little bit on the turf as well, not away from home, but on the turf. I think teams are coming at, and we've seen so many teams do what Coventry did, where they're coming up and they're thinking they're playing for a draw, aren't they? And maybe sneak something on the break at some point. You know, we're never really getting much in the way of real pressure. But on those away games, when we have come under pressure, like in the last half hour at Bristol City, we stand firm pretty well. So it's a tremendous foundation for us. Before we look at the trip to Stoke, just to break things up a little bit, a little announcement came out this week that something for fans over here in the States, Clarets, North American Clarets, but also I suspect it will be arriving in the UK at some stage. COSM, which is this giant warehouse with a massive screen in where you can go in and sit in a bar. People will probably have seen some footage of a Manchester United game played at the COSM facility in Los Angeles, where it's a sort of shaped screen. It's not a straight, flat screen, so it's not totally like being in a cinema, but it's massive. Very immersive idea that you're almost sat in the Stretford end watching a game, but you're actually in a warehouse with padded seats in a nice, comfortable bar area with a waitress bringing you a drink and all the sort of conveniences of that, but you feel like you're inside a ground. It gives you this, it's an absolute massive screen. I've never been to it, but I've seen the technology, and quite a lot of it's online anyway. They announced a deal this week with the EFL, which the headlines in the States were all about how you'll be able to experience Wrexham in this shared reality experience, with Wrexham being something of a phenomena still over here. But included in the first raft of matches is a Boxing Day game at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United versus Burnley. Now, it's from practical purposes, in the United States, these two venues for this are at the moment, they're only in LA and Dallas, which means that kickoff would be 10 a.m. for those of us on Eastern time, but that in LA, that's 7 a.m. Woody, do you think many Californians will be heading out to watch 0-0 draw at Bramall Lane with Burnley in action at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning on Boxing Day?
I think I might be flying over on Christmas just to take it in, to be the one person sat there. You know,
would be quite cool, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah. Although slightly lonely, I would have thought it'd be very, very interesting to see how many turn up. But it does look ridiculously entertaining. It really does. But I can imagine that if just two of you, sat there slightly hungover from the day before, having that blaring in your face at 7 o'clock in the morning would be a little bit too much. So I think I might give it a miss, but it would be nice. It would be nice to watch. It really would.
I mean, the potential of this thing is like, and this is not a sponsored episode from COSM, but unfortunately, but if they are interested, but
players over.
The reason why, I mean, it works really well for Premier League football in the US, especially amongst people who it's going to cost them a few grand to get over to go and see a game at Old Trafford or wherever. But I've seen it for baseball, I've seen it for NFL, it works very well for that. Boxing as well, the ringside seat, it looks pretty amazing. You can see, Chris, that something like that could catch on internationally, couldn't you? I mean, you can imagine a situation where if you had a facility like that somewhere and you were able to, possibly could be a way around that 3 p.m. blackout, which... it's driving piracy in England, really, isn't it? That's can you see potential for this outside of the States?
Well, absolutely. If the product's good, I mean, it's good. Roll back 30 odd years, and we all rolled up at the Boozer on a Monday night, which was never a done thing in England, all because it was Sky's Monday Night Football, and the Boozer had a big screen. And I can remember sitting in bars watching Leicester against Sheffield Wednesday. I couldn't give a monkeys about Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday. Watching Richie Humphries score a worldie, and you're just thinking, what am I doing here? But it's the experience, isn't it? Like you see, you're watching on a screen that's bigger than your house, and and getting beer poured down your neck. What's not to like? But I mean, what's the equivalent? Giving everyone sort of VR headsets. If they can create this sort of technology that makes you feel that you're inside the stadium, I mean, it's the next best thing, isn't it? You're not going to. I mean, how many people can afford? I mean, nobody in Manchester is going to be able to go and watch Manchester United. Never mind people from LA. If they can get these things set up, why not?
Yeah, I mean, imagine Ashes cricket, something like that. You can imagine spending, if the time worked right, that you could have, if you had those facilities dotted across the country. What a great night that'd be, sitting watching Test cricket from the MCG while you're actually in Stockport.
You could watch Mike Tyson not throw a punch at a YouTuber for half an hour, things like that.
Oh God, yeah.
Don't start us on that. Yeah.
That was grim. I did actually watch it. Did you watch it, Woody?
Yeah.
Well, we all did, didn't we? That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That preposterous. How many people watched
60 million.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. The fight beforehand was worth it. To be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, the Irish lass. Yeah.
Yeah. My word.
Yeah. No, and quite a few people pointed out that was the most watched women's boxing match of all time by about tenfold.
Yeah.
Because you get 60 million people watching it, and they never quite tell you when it's going to start, do they? So you always end up watching a bit of the undercard. Yeah, but it's no, a lot of interesting things. It'd be great. I mean, if this can become a regular thing and spreads out across America, it does change the game when people talk about like spreading the brand and all that kind of stuff. If it becomes something that, I mean, you think about what Burnley have tried to do to build a name for themselves in if you could have that immersive Turf Moor experience being something that people can tap into for $30 or $40 or whatever it is, in some facility near where they live, and people like, we know
even in the ground for away games. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't at Torquay for the first leg of the playoff semi-final in '91, but they beamed it back to Turf Moor. I was stood on the be-all end watching a beam back of that. I mean, that was cutting edge at the time, wasn't it? You couldn't believe it.
Closed circuit television. Yeah. Yeah. There's all sorts of potential with it. Yeah, it's all going to change, and I think it's a fascinating area, the whole technology and sport and the experiences people can have from it. We should look into it in some depth at some stage in the future. But slightly less glamorous is the Bet365 stadium. Chris, what do you make of Stoke this year?
Obviously, they parted ways rather controversially with Mr. Schumacher. John Walters had a vision, and they were a funny side under Schumacher. They were far more sort of entertaining, enterprising, and attacking, but they were a lot easier to beat. They were losing games by three or more quite regularly, and I'd say they've gone down the route of everyone else has. Let's go for a Catalan guy who wants to play pep ball, and it seems to me. I think I don't think they've lost in the last 5 league games. They've drawn the last 3. North End got a nil apiece there in midweek, but it's just typical Championship fare. That if you look through the squad, they've good players. Cannon's he's a good goal scorer at this level. The back, on paper, everyone knows Ben Gibson from his time here. He's 1 start for Burnley, but Ash Phillips, who's I think he's on loan from Spurs now, isn't he? He's been at starting out at Blackburn. Good players there. They've it doesn't look like they scored too many, and it looks like another of those. If Burnley are bang at it like they were at Bristol City as well for the first hour or so, they should go there and win the game again and keep another clean sheet. But it's just the Championship keeps you on your toes. You just never quite know. You
never quite know, no, would he? I mean, there is a sort of feeling of like, not euphoria around Burnley at all, is there? Because of the way these wins have been coming about, but there's a quiet confidence around the place now. It feels,
and there should be, but it still has to be improved upon, hasn't it? It's still, it has to go from 3 on the bounce to 4 on the bounce, etc. And we now have to go on a run. Just looking at some of Stoke's stats, they were against Preston, like Chris said, 0-0, 12 shots, 1 on target, 58% possession, and it sounds like it could be very much two sides almost negating each other if we don't really turn up and they are still practicing their pet ball. It could be quite a dour affair if we're not careful. But this should be the types of sides that we're going to and expecting to get a result. We know we're not going to concede, or we're not going to allow too many chances, and so it's just a case of, can we carry on improving in that final third? And I think we probably should.
Yeah, it's funny, if you'd have told people like until this year probably, or a year or two ago, that you think Burnley versus Stoke might be quite a dour game, they'd probably think it was a result of centre-halves doing a lot of heading away of long balls and a fairly physical battle. And now we're worried about two sides, neutralising each other out by tapping it around in midfield too much. But we shall see how it all works out. It will be something interesting, certainly, to reflect upon this new look Stoke City. It's not something we're used to yet, but people got used to us pretty quick, and it worked out for us under Vincent Kompany in the Championship. So you never know what might happen with this mysterious Catalan. We'll be back on Monday to review it all. Thanks very much for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend if you're in America. Have a great weekend anyway if you're in England. And all the best. And up the Clarets.